It is perhaps the most sacred site in all of humanity. The place where three of the world's most prominent religions, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, all converge. It is the heart and soul of what is called the Holy Land. Temple Mount, Old City, Jerusalem. And this 35-acre plateau, surrounded by ancient walls, has been considered sacred for thousands of years.
The Temple Mount is sacred to Jews and Christians because it's at this spot that Abraham bound Isaac and prepared to sacrifice him in Genesis 22. For Muslims, this site is sacred because it's from the rock, where the Dome of the Rock today stands, that Muhammad ascended into heaven.
What we have on the Temple Mount really is a mixture of three religions, and each one of them has got an aspect to it which makes the place even more important. But in origin, really what we have is a place where God touched down on planet Earth. And ever after, this is the place where communications with the afterlife or the divine realm is to be made.
Each year, millions of pilgrims come to Temple Mount to worship God and celebrate holy occasions. But why? In the 10th century BC, King David and the Israelites chose this rocky high ground to build a great temple.
This was the site that David, the great king of Israel, had conquered. And so it already had a kind of a blessing about it, because this was where the people of Israel were destined to center their lives in this sacred kind of place.
According to the Bible, King David, who had just made Jerusalem his capital, wanted to build in it a house for the Lord. But for reasons that aren't entirely clear, he didn't do so, and it was his son Solomon who built the first Jewish temple.
Completed in 957 BC by David's son, King Solomon, the temple was said to house the Ark of the Covenant. The sacred chest, believed to have contained the stone tablets on which the 10 Commandments were written. But according to many ancient astronaut theorists, the Ark also may have contained a power source of extraterrestrial origin.
In the Bible, you read about the Ark of the Covenant. Moses was ordered to go to the Holy Mountain, and the Lord gave Moses instruction to construct the Ark of the Covenant. As we know later, the Ark of the Covenant was something very, very dangerous.
Solomon installed it in the temple, and it served as the focal point of the temple in its innermost room, the Holy of Holies, into which only the chief priest, the high priest, could go.
It's in this innermost sanctum, the Holy of Holies, where God was viewed as resident. So in a sense, the Ark of the Covenant was God's throne in the Holy of Holies, and the place where God reigned from Jerusalem.
According to the Talmud, a central text of Judaism, King Solomon possessed a magic ring with a special symbol called the Seal of Solomon, today known as the Star of David.
This special ring would allow him to accomplish things beyond what mortals could usually accomplish. And part of what he could do with that ring, with the seal on it, was control the demons. And that gave him a kind of power and an ability in the construction of that temple that others would never have had.
According to Islamic text, King Solomon also had a magic carpet of green silk, sufficient for his throne and all his forces to stand on.
Now, magic carpets, do they exist? Of course not. So what was it that our ancestors tried to describe in those stories?
So where was he getting these strange powers? Was he really in contact with extraterrestrials who had literally given him a spacecraft to fly around in?
Bugarach, France, 2012. Believing that the end of the Mayan calendar is a prediction of the apocalypse, thousands descend on this mountain village, hoping to be rescued by extraterrestrials.
Bugarach has been known as a holy mountain since time immemorial in this part of France. There is something truly magnetic about this mountain that is bringing people to come and watch it. There is so much UFO activity. There are so many unidentified lights, unidentified objects that are seen around that mountain that people come from all over Europe to observe Bugarach.
All throughout the mountain is a vast labyrinth of limestone caves. These limestone caves have led a number of people to believe that this is actually some kind of alien base, that extraterrestrials are living inside the mountain. And in fact, they've been living there for thousands of years.
So what happened in 2012 is that all sorts of doomsday groups flocked to the area because they felt like it would be the only place that would be safe from the devastation and destruction that would engulf the entire planet. They believed that the aliens were going to come out and protect anybody who was encamped in the area, and that they would be the ones who would start the new world that would come afterwards.
Could extraterrestrials really be living inside a mountain in France, remaining undetected for thousands of years? And if so, might there be other similar mountains secretly housing otherworldly civilizations? Mount Shasta, California. Dominating the landscape at over 14,162 feet, this mountain has inspired strange and incredible stories for thousands of years.
The local Native Americans have always felt there was something special about Mount Shasta. It was thought that humankind actually originated from within Mount Shasta, that there was a great cataclysm, and that the people of planet Earth actually hid within the mountain. When the cataclysm had passed, the people were able to come out of Mount Shasta and repopulate the world.
A book came out in the 1890s proposing the idea that there was a culture that lived within subterranean chambers in Mount Shasta.
Over the years, there have been a number of very significant UFO sightings around Mount Shasta, and you have to wonder, why is that the case? I don't think we can rule out the idea of some sort of permanent presence buried deep within Mount Shasta itself.
Could alien beings really be living on planet Earth, hidden inside mountains? And if so, might they have built advanced civilizations, not only within Mount Shasta, but in mountains across the world?
Great mountains have been objects of fascination and veneration for as long as we have stories. They reach to the heavens. They have hidden crevices and caves. They are also dangerous, so we have the severity, issues of life and death. So in every corner of the planet, there have been special and sacred mountains.
Throughout the world, we find myths and legends of sacred mountains that are not only landing places or places where the gods or star beings descended, but also places that became their sanctuary. And humans have been almost magnetically attracted to these places since the beginning of recorded history.
So it's entirely possible that the extraterrestrials set up space bases and mountains all over the world. That way they could watch humanity, help guide us, and if necessary, intervene again in human affairs as they had done in the past. And perhaps this is why we're drawn to mountains. We instinctively know that the extraterrestrial gods are there. and always have been.
Western India, April 28, 1819. While hunting tigers just outside the village of Ajanta, British officer John Smith discovers 29 elaborate cave temples carved into the side of a rocky cliff overlooking the Bugarach River. Believed to have been constructed in 200 BC, the cave's architecture and artwork reveal new insights into the origins of India's mysterious sacred past.
Ajanta is unique in the sense that these are the most ancient Buddhist caves of India. Here they started the work from 200 BC, and this work continued till the end of 6th century AD.
After 7th century AD, Buddhism started declining all over India. And all these caves were abandoned. Nobody was living here. And so in course of time, a dense forest was grown up here, and all these caves were covered under vegetation.
As you walk into the Ajanta caves, you see all kinds of temples carved out of solid rock, niches and alcoves, even statues, but it's all been carved out of one giant block of rock.
Visited yearly by thousands of Buddhist worshippers, the caves are considered sacred even to this day. Built as holy shrines and temples by devoted monks, they contain numerous places of worship, complete with paintings and sculptures depicting the life and times of the Supreme Buddha, often referred to as the Enlightened One.
There are many different sculpted subjects at Ajanta. Many of the sculptures are of the Buddha. In addition to those sculptures, there are various depictions of other mythological beings. These are called jatakas. These jatakas show these previous lives, and these lives could be related to, say, the Buddha being born as an animal, being born as a deity, or being born as a human.
Even today, modern engineers are baffled as to how the caves could have been cut from the 70-foot-high granite cliffs more than 2,000 years ago.
These caves were created through the removal of stone, literally tunneling into the surface of the rock. Rock was removed, it was chiseled away, taken out, and any interior space that you see at the caves today were created through this removal of stone. Any architectural details that one finds at the site, any sculptures, they're actually carved from the same piece of stone, which is the mountainside itself.
According to researchers, the Ajanta complex is significant because of the deliberate positioning of the caves around the cliffs, an arrangement that reveals an unusually advanced understanding of celestial activity.
The caves are carved into this horseshoe bend and are oriented in various directions. Some are oriented towards the west, others to the south, and some are oriented to the east so that they are oriented towards the rising sun. It does seem to be the case that ancient peoples in India were very much interested in the universe and the relationship of heavenly bodies.
Evidence of the cave sculptor's precise knowledge of celestial movements can be found in two particular caves. Each contains large stupas, or dome-shaped structures featuring Siddhartha Gautama, the Supreme Buddha and spiritual teacher who founded Buddhism.
Cave 19 is oriented towards the winter solstice, and what this means is that on the day of the winter solstice, the morning sunlight would filter through this large window on the facade, and the sunlight itself would illuminate the stupa. This is also true of Cave 26 at Ajanta. It's oriented towards the summer solstice, and so on the day of the summer solstice, that light would filter and strike the stupa within it.
Now, this would have been very difficult to do itself because you're cutting solid rock from inside of a cave. So you would need some pretty high-tech gear in order to tunnel and build and chip away inside of solid rock in order to really be perfectly oriented to the solstice.
Might the Ajanta caves have been constructed with the aid of advanced alien technology, as ancient astronaut theorists believe? If so, might they also have been considered sacred by the locals because of their connection to early extraterrestrial visitors?
Many ancient astronaut theorists look at the stupa and say it's a symbolic reference for the power of flight. Many times it's symbolically shown with a young Buddha placed in there, and it almost looks like he could be manipulating some type of controls within the stupa. The stupas were always used as a way for Buddha to ascend or descend into the heavens. And so we do see stupas in this artwork, very possibly saying that the Buddha was going into space.
There was an obsession of ancient human beings to depict things that they saw. And I think they did it with carvings on caves and depictions and sculptures and monuments, because that's what they saw. They were duplicating what they saw. But what they depict are very strange things.
They depict gods and half animal, half god type figures. So you have here what seems to be some kind of special subterranean temple that's built for extraterrestrials or some kind of space gods.
What were the Buddhist monks seeing? Could the Buddhist monks have been helped by some kind of an extraterrestrial presence?
The ancient astronaut theory suggests that if we find paintings or carvings of half man, half animals, that means that those creatures at one point really existed because they were genetically created by extraterrestrials.
The Valley of the Kings, Egypt. The Taj Mahal, Agra, India. And King Pakal's tomb, Palenque, Mexico. Spectacular burial sites that date back thousands of years are found across the world. According to mainstream researchers, these locations are the final resting places for ancient leaders. But might they also serve a more profound, perhaps extraterrestrial purpose?
Why do we have the most massive of constructions in the far and distant past? Well, and according to the ancient texts and the ancient traditions, this knowledge was given to our ancestors by the gods.
If the sole function of tombs was to house the dead, then why are virtually all of these connected to notions of spiritual energy, images of astronomy, and a strong belief in the existence of other, arguably more spiritual worlds?
All cultures share this notion of somehow opening a doorway, opening a stargate, opening a gateway to another dimension so the soul can return. We know that it is meant because the soul is going to go on a voyage to the afterlife.
In the ancient world, there was a view that this life that we have, this physical life, is our opportunity to prepare ourselves for a vast destiny that lies beyond this life.
Could ancient tombs really have served another, more extraterrestrial purpose? Perhaps as portals to reunite the deceased with celestial beings? Many ancient astronaut theorists believe the answers can be found by taking a closer look at the mysterious texts of ancient Egypt. Saqqara. Situated on the west bank of the Nile River, 20 miles south of Cairo, this archaeological site is one of the oldest and largest burial grounds in all of Egypt.
Egyptologists called these monuments tombs, but to the Egyptians they were not tombs. They were gateways to the afterworld. It is through these structures that the king will begin a journey into the underworld in order to face obstacles, dangers, and threats. And if he would overcome these threats, he would be given passage into the afterlife kingdom of Osiris.
Overlooking the immense necropolis lies the pyramid of King Teti, the first ruler of Egypt's 6th dynasty. Teti built his pyramid and an adjoining mortuary temple during his reign more than 4,000 years ago.
I'm walking on what's left of the ancient causeway of King Teti I. That's his pyramid. And here is his very much ruined mortuary temple. Now, this pyramid is very important. It contains the oldest religious writing in the world, the pyramid texts.
According to archaeologists, the pyramid texts are a collection of ancient Egyptian religious writings that date back to 2400 BC. They contain passages about Osiris, the Egyptian god of the afterlife, and descriptions of how to prepare the pharaoh's remains during his ascent to the heavens after death.
The pyramid texts are all about the stars. It's all about the king becoming a star. It's all about the king ascending to the sky and joining Osiris, Orion in the sky.
But according to ancient astronaut theorists, the pyramid texts didn't only guide the pharaoh to an afterlife. They actually provided instruction on how the pharaoh could travel to other worlds.
What is important to realize is that the ancient Egyptians say that about 25,000 years ago, the gods lived amongst them. Then they disappeared again. What the pyramid texts are saying is that we, the ancient Egyptians specifically, of course, are able to reach the gods again. For this we have to die, but once we're dead, we're able to join the gods once again. What we're talking about is some kind of other dimensional travel for the soul to undertake.